Jayvardy.
Jayvardy.
This Jayvardy.
Jayvardy. Thank you, Jayvardy.
Jayvardy. Oh, Jayvardy. Oh my gosh.
Hello everyone, I am Jayvardy. I just watched Wrestlepalooza on Netflix because I'm in Canada, so I did not have to pay for ESPN Plus like those in the United States. I'll get to talking about the Netflix experience of this show in a bit, but yeah, I am in Canada, so I did not have to watch this on ESPN, but I did get that ESPN intro that Triple H did. Even though I was watching on Netflix, which was kind of awkward. But yes, I did just watch Wrestlepalooza, and yes, I am going to give my reviews on it. As you can see on the video, it says spoiler warnings at the bottom. If you did not watch Wrestlepalooza yet and you are planning on watching it later on, this video will have spoilers on results of the show, and it will give my thoughts on the show. So don't go any further if you have not watched Wrestlepalooza yet. This is your warning that this video will contain spoilers. I just want to say, though, before I start talking about the matches and the match results, that, you know, the WWE just does not feel the same anymore. It does not feel the same as to when I was a little kid and we were in the midst of the Attitude Era. We're far from those days. But even back, I made a couple of videos last night and I referenced how I started on YouTube in 2008, 2009 as part of the YWC, which is, you know, an even more specific branch of the IWC, the YouTube wrestling community. Back then, you know, PS Power, True Slayer, the Wrestling Gurus, Spinnernet, these were like the big wrestling channels on YouTube. And I was one of the, you know, smaller channels on YouTube, but I was around and, you know, people would watch my videos back then. But even comparing the WWE today to that era of like the 2008, 2009, you know, probably up to like 2013, 2014, the like when the YWC was really a big thing. Even comparing WWE now to WWE then, it's such a different feeling now. Like the WWE is just the best way to describe it is there's no character anymore, and that applies to so many things. There's no character in the way the show's presented anymore. Like, how did we begin this show? We began this show with a cold opening showing superstars arrivals, showing all the different wrestlers that are wrestling tonight entering the arena. Like, this is something they do on like legitimate sports. They'll show athletes show up. They'll be getting off the road team. They'll show the road team getting off the bus. They'll show the home team, you know, walking into their dressing room in their suits, whether it's, you know, hockey or basketball or whatever. Like, they do this in like legitimate sports. And I hate this for wrestling because wrestling should never be presented as a sport. That's never what wrestling was. Wrestling always focused more on the story aspect and the entertainment aspect. Yes, what they do in the ring is athletic. Yes, there is sports elements to the wrestling presentation as there are championships and other such things. But to actually produce the show like it's a sports show takes away from what wrestling is. In that cold opening, you had Michael Cole announcing with like almost zero energy whatsoever. And compare this opening. You have Michael Cole with no energy whatsoever. You just showing random shots of superstars entering the arena with no real purpose, like it's some sports show. Compare that to how like pay-per-views and Monday Night Raw would open back in like when I was a big fan of wrestling. You would have a crap ton of pyro hit the stage after Union Underground or whatever that pay-per-view's theme song is. Usually like they're really fast-paced, you know, pop songs or hard rock metal songs like Union Underground, which was the theme of Raw for so long. Union Underground is the band, not the name of the song. But you would have this song play, you would have a crap ton of pyro hit the stage, and then you'd have JR yelling like a maniac to get everyone watching on TV hyped up for this crazy show that's about to happen. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. There's no character in the way the show's presented. There's no character within the announce team. Like, once Pat McAfee, and let's talk about Pat McAfee for a second. They did an entrance for an announcer. I don't care that Pat McAfee is from Indianapolis. That doesn't matter. He doesn't deserve an entrance. I don't care that he hasn't been on the announce booth since what, sometime after WrestleMania. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. A commentator doesn't need an entrance. There's no reason to give a commentator an entrance. It's literally just a waste of time. Literally just a waste of time. But the announcing when Pat McAfee was on, and he was only there for the first half of the show. He left after the third match, which thankfully, because the announcing got way better after he left. But when he is on announcing, he's not a character. He's not a wrestling character. He's literally just being a watered down version of himself. And that's even the worst thing. He's not even just being himself. He's being a watered down version of his real life self. He shows way more personality on his YouTube channels and his other shows and his podcasts and whatever he does. He shows way more personality on those things than he does as a WWE commentator. He's like so watered down, just a watered down version of himself. Michael Cole has no character left anymore. When Michael Cole was first an announcer with Taz back in the day, he actually was playing a character on TV. Now he doesn't even try to play a character on TV. He's just, just some generic sports announcer. Wade Barrett tries, and Wade Barrett was playing, more of a cliche, typical wrestling announcer character once Pat McAfee left. But before McAfee left, even Wade Barrett wasn't even trying to be a character on the announcers. The announcers are supposed to be characters themselves. They're supposed to be engaging with the show as characters. Like that's what JR would do with King, or JR would do with Paul Heyman, or even what Michael Cole would do with Taz and Michael Cole would do with King. They used to be characters themselves, and how they engaged in the show, they were characters themselves. Now they're not. Now they're just, generic sports announcers, and they're just being their real life selves. But this is not a sport. Like, how many times do I have to, pound that into this, that wrestling is not a sport. It's a show. It's a play. It's entertainment. Yes, there are sports elements, and I'm saying this as a fan of wrestling because I'm a fan of wrestling. I have been for a long, long time now, and I hate seeing it presented as a sport. If I want to watch a sport, I'm gonna watch hockey because I'm Canadian, and that's like what we like. If I want to watch a sport, I'm gonna watch hockey. I don't watch wrestling for sports. I watch wrestling for the crazy wrestling entertainment drama that is professional wrestling that sadly no longer exists. And like I said, whether it's the presentation of the show, that has no more character anymore. Whether it's the announcers, they have no character anymore. And I'll even say this, the fans in the arena have no character anymore. They all do the same thing in every single arena. The "This is awesome" chants, the applause for athletic moves, the "you still got it" chants. Like there's no creativity in the fans anymore. Like go back and watch old wrestling shows from the Attitude Era or even like the early Ruthless Aggression era and listen to how the crowds reacted. Now it's like the WWE has the audience trained. They have the audience trained to do certain chants at certain times, to pop at certain times, to act specific ways at certain times. It's like the WWE has masterfully directed the audience to act a certain way. And it's now like the audience reacts the way the show wants them to react, and that is not what wrestling audience is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the other way around, guys. It's not that the wrestling crowd is supposed to react the way the show wants the crowd to react. The show is supposed to feed off the energy of the crowd and go in the direction that the crowd takes it. Go back and watch Rock versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania. Why is that match so famous? It's so famous because the direction of that match completely changed because of how the crowd was reacting to it. And Rock and Hogan had to completely change what their plan was for that match because of how the crowd was reacting. The crowd wasn't reacting the way the match wanted them to react. The match became what it was in response to how the audience was acting. And that's what professional wrestling is. The crowd has no character anymore either. And that's a problem. There's no character in the way the show's presented. There's no character within the wrestlers themselves or the announcers themselves. And there's no character within the audience. And wrestling just seems so lifeless now. And that's just the best way to describe it. It seems so lifeless now. Are shows like this still fun to watch because there are good matches? Yeah, the PLEs are still fun to watch because, you know, most of the matches that you're going to find on PLEs are still really good. And I want to stress that is that most of the matches still end up being really good on PLEs. So PLEs are still worth watching because you're going to see really cool wrestling. And that's obviously part of wrestling is you want to watch good matches, right? You want to enjoy good matches. So of course, PLEs are still worth watching because you're going to get more good matches than bad matches. But there is so much more to pro wrestling than just good matches. And we're in an era right now where literally the only reason to watch pro wrestling right now, or at least watch WWE right now, is you might get good matches and you might get some, cool returns and stuff like that, cool entrances. But in terms of character and story and, wrestling drama and the show feeling alive, it's gone, man. It's gone. And ever since the WWE's gone on Netflix, it feels like it's the lifelessness of the product has become even more apparent than it has been for, it's been this way for a few years now, but it became even more apparent ever since it's been on Netflix. And, this show for me, the matches were good, but the show is just lifeless. And as long as they have the people that they have in charge, and as long as they have those people in charge, it's never going to change. It's simply never going to change. You're never going to get the magic back. And the issue is that there's no sign that that's ever going to change because the WWE keeps selling out shows and they keep printing money, and like the cost of tickets are so high right now, and yet people are still buying them. The cost of merchandise is so high, and yet people are still buying them. The shows are now $30 a month again, and being on ESPN Plus in the United States. We'll see how many people start tuning in on ESPN Plus in the United States now. It's just not looking good, man. And my hope for WrestleMania is not high. And I did make some WrestleMania videos yesterday, and I do hope that you check them out. I'll put them in the comments. I'm going to pin a comment on this video where I'll link to my 2 videos I made yesterday, and I'll put them in the description box as well. So go check out my WrestleMania videos as well. But that all being said, let's talk about the show. So this is your last spoiler warning. It's on the screen now, and we're going to start talking about the matches, and I'm going to flip to new images that also show results of the show. So this is your last spoiler warning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and now we're going to discuss spoilers. You've been warned. Okay, so we open the show with Brock Lesnar and John Cena. And this was essentially just their SummerSlam 2014 match redone, but watered down. I talked about how like the announcers are just watered down versions of their real life selves. Which is terrible. They're not even elevated versions of themselves. They're watered down versions of themselves. Well, this match was just a watered down version of the SummerSlam 2014 match between Lesnar and Cena, which I think it is okay. I mean, obviously, both these guys are older now. John Cena's on his way out. He has very limited amount of dates left on his retirement tour. Brock Lesnar just came back and had his first match in, 2 years or something like that. And, he's getting older himself. I'm pretty sure Lesnar is, like, only a year younger than Cena. I'm not even sure on that. And I'm not going to bother looking it up. But they're pretty close to being the same age. But he might be like 1 or 2 years younger than Cena. I honestly can't remember. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But they're both older, right? And like they're both closer to 50 than they are closer to 40. So the fact that this is a watered down version of that match, like they wanted to tell the same story, but they can't be as physical as they were in the 2014 match. Like John Cena took a really big beating from Brock Lesnar in 2014. He's not gonna take that same type of beating nowadays, and I understand that. But what I'm disappointed about this match is that it essentially was the same story that they told in the 2014 match. It was just the 2014 match redone with less bumps for John Cena to take, essentially. And that's disappointing because we've seen this story told before. And I did predict Brock Lesnar to win this match in my WrestlePalooza predictions that I uploaded, which is part of the videos that I'm plugging in this video. I predicted 4 out of the 5 matches right, actually. The only match I got wrong was Iyo Sky and Stephanie Vaquer, and we'll get to that when we get to that. I did predict Lesnar to win. I'm not surprised Lesnar won. I will say this, though. Asking John Cena to lose to Brock Lesnar and to pretty much retell a story that they already told 11 years ago at this point of Cena's retirement tour, it feels like this was a pretty big ask for them, and I understand why they did it, because Cena's on his way out. They no longer need to protect him. His last match is going to be huge no matter what happens between now and his last match. And Lesnar, if this is his return and he's going to be wrestling more and he's going to be at WrestleMania next year, they need to get him some wins so they can build him up so he can put someone over, because I imagine Lesnar's probably going to I put him against Bron Breakker in my WrestleMania card, and the idea is he would probably put Bron Breakker over at WrestleMania, but you need to get him some wins first. So I understand this, but to ask John Cena to take a loss to Brock Lesnar at this stage and to tell the same story they've already told before, it seems like it's a pretty big ask. I'm just kind of surprised John Cena agreed to do this, but it just kind of goes to show how much of a company guy he is and always has been. But I'll say this also, Lesnar beating John Cena is very realistic. I mean, John Cena will now forever go down as only having one pinfall victory over Brock Lesnar, but being defeated by Brock Lesnar 5 times, which makes absolute sense. Obviously, in a real-life fight, Brock Lesnar would beat the living snot out of John Cena, so I understand why Lesnar wins this match in kayfabe as well. But I'll say this. This was the last match ever between these two, and wouldn't the John Cena character in the John Cena story be to overcome the odds in the very last match against Brock Lesnar? Like, isn't that the whole point of John Cena's character? So in a way, it's kind of odd that Lesnar won this match, Like, doesn't it make sense for their last ever match for Cena to finally slay the beast? Like, isn't that real long-term storytelling? But anyways, the match was okay. It was essentially a watered-down version of their 2014 match, so that's all I really have to say. If I was giving it a star rating out of 5, maybe a 3. It was cool to see these two go one last time, but if we didn't see anything in this match that we haven't seen before between the two of them, so I'll just end it there. It was cool to see them go one last time, though. Second match was the Usos versus Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. I got this match right as well in my predictions. I predicted the heels would win. They absolutely needed the win after losing to Jay and Roman at SummerSlam, and obviously with Seth and Becky taking on Punk and AJ later, and the result of that match, this faction really needed the win here. I should probably mention that in the Brock Lesnar and John Cena match, you had Paul Heyman do Brock Lesnar's announcement. Like, Alicia Taylor introduced John Cena before the match, and then Paul Heyman came out to introduce Brock Lesnar. So Paul Heyman introduced Lesnar for the Lesnar match, and then he accompanied Reed and Breakker for this match. Breakker and Reed won. There were some cool spots in here. The finish came when Bron Breakker speared the Usos through the table in the corner of the ring. At the same time, it was a double spear, putting both Usos through the table. Then Reed hit the splash, and then they won the match. And what was cool about the finish, and this wasn't planned, it just happened because of gravity, is when I can't remember if it was Jimmy or Jay that was pinned. I genuinely honestly forget if it was Jimmy or Jay that was pinned. But whichever one was being pinned, the other one was still against the table, right? But because the table was broken, as the 3 count was happening, the table folded over the other Uso in the corner. Like the top of the table fell and folded over him, like kind of like trapping him in the table. So there was no way he could break up the pin. That definitely was not planned. That just happened by accident, but it was like a really cool accident that kind of enhanced the finish of the match. But anyways, the match itself was decent. LA Knight was announced as a special guest referee just before the match. They hinted at maybe Jay and LA Knight having a feud after this. It pretty much turned into a street fight. It wasn't announced as a street fight, but that's what it turned into. The heels won. It was an exciting match. The right team won. You know, it was a standard tag team street fight. Nothing too special, nothing too bad. I spent like the first third of this match texting someone on my phone because, you know, I knew this match was going to be as long as it was. So I knew the first 10 minutes or so probably didn't really matter. But anyways, this match was okay. I would probably give it like 3 out of 5. Again, nothing too special, but nothing apparent either. Move on. The match I want to talk about most, Stephanie Vaquer and Iyo Sky. And Stephanie Vaquer won. She is now the women's world champion. This is the only match I got wrong in my predictions. And to my credit, the logical choice for who should win this match is Iyo Sky. I'll say this. The match between them was good, even though the fans were acting like bots and not having any character. This is when I said earlier how matches now control fans instead of fans controlling matches, and it's now that fans, react to what's happening in the match instead of the match reacting to what the fans are doing. This match is a perfect example of that. Go watch this match and just listen to the crowd throughout it. It's the wrestlers are directing the crowd rather than the crowd directing the wrestlers. And that's a massive problem. It needs to be the other way around, guys. And that's on you, the fans. You are supposed to direct the wrestlers. They're not supposed to be directing you. This is pro wrestling. It's always been the fans directing the wrestlers, not the wrestlers directing the fans. Anyways, Stephanie Vaquer won the match. It was a good match. Both women are excellent in the ring. It was a better match than the 2 matches prior to it. Probably the second best match of the night overall. Here's my big problem. Stephanie Vaquer won the title when she shouldn't have. She hasn't even been in WWE, as in the main roster of WWE, for a year. She's been here less than a year and she's already world champion. Here is the major problem with that. I have a lot of problems with this. Number 1, do all of us know who Stephanie Vaquer is yet? No. We're still getting used to her. We're still getting to know her, and she's already the champion. That means there's nowhere further for her to climb. She's already at the top. Part of, winning a world title is the fans and the wrestler going up the mountain together, experiencing that ascension up the card together, and us getting to know them over a period of a long time and watching their in-ring and in-character journey to becoming champion. We didn't get that with her. She's won the world title and she's been in the main roster for what, like 5-6 months, and she's already a world champion. Like, I haven't watched a match since SummerSlam. And so, like, how many times have I seen Stephanie Vaquer wrestle in WWE? Like, and now she's world champion? Like, what the heck is that? There was no journey here. And yes, she had a real life journey to the world title. But real life does not mix in wrestling when not everyone knows who this character is. Cody Rhodes' story of becoming world champion was both wrestling and real life based, but everybody knew who Cody Rhodes was because he wrestled in WWE for years and years before even coming back to WWE. And then even when he came back to WWE, he had 2 WrestleMania matches before he won the title in his 3rd WrestleMania match. Technically his 4th, because he wrestled 2 matches at WrestleMania 40. And he returned at 38. So, like, whether, he had real life elements in his story, but we all knew who he was as a wrestling character as well, and we got to experience that ascension with him. There was no ascension experience for the fans with Stephanie Vaquer. Does she have an inspiring real life story in wrestling? Yeah, she does, probably. But not everyone knows who she is or who that story is. Michael Cole had to tell us what that story was um, as the match was happening and as the match was concluding. If it's done properly, he wouldn't even need to tell us all that background because we would already know it, but we don't, and that's the problem here. That's problem number one. Problem number two. Who is a bigger star, Becky Lynch or Stephanie Vaquer? Just looking at them, who's a bigger star? Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is the Intercontinental Champion right now. Stephanie Vaquer is the World Champion right now. Does that make any sense? Like, at all? Here's what I was wondering. Why is Becky not the world champion right now and Stephanie won the Intercontinental title tonight? Like, wouldn't that be better? Because then her first title win on the main roster is an Intercontinental title win. Like, what is the point of the women's Intercontinental title if it's not going to be used as that first stepping stone? That's what the Intercontinental and US title belts are supposed to be. Stepping stones to eventually get to the world title. My question is, why is the women's Intercontinental Champion a bigger star than the women's world champion right now? Does that make any sense at all? No, it doesn't. Becky Lynch should be the world champion right now, and Stephanie Vaquer should have won the Intercontinental title. What should have happened was when Naomi relinquished the world title, it should have gone to Becky Lynch because Becky could be like, I'm the Intercontinental champion. I'm the number 2 champion right now. The world champion's out. I'm a former world champion. Here, I'm relinquishing my Intercontinental title, and I'm taking the world title. Then she could be with her husband with dual world champions, and Stephanie Vaquer and Iyo Sky should have been wrestling for a vacant Intercontinental title tonight. Stephanie wins her first Intercontinental title, and there you go. You have a building block towards the future. As we're all still just getting to know Stephanie, she wins her Intercontinental title tonight. Michael Cole gives us some of that background. We're all happy for her. She just had a great match, but it's a building block. We're building her up to the world title. This is bad for so many reasons because this girl literally got screwed tonight by winning this world title. I'm telling you right now, this is going to hurt her more than help her. In all likelihood, this is going to hurt her way more than help her because there's nowhere higher for her to go now. She's already at the top. How is she supposed to build herself and connect with the WWE audience and become a huge, massive star when she's already at the top? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, in wrestling, you take steps up a ladder to get to the top. Sometimes literally, but I mean that in a figuratively sense. Now we don't get that with her. Now she's just thrown into being world champion. And here's the other thing I noticed. When Alicia Taylor was doing the introductions of Iyo Sky and Stephanie Vaquer, what did you notice? When the three of them are all standing beside each other, Alicia Taylor stood over the two women wrestling for a world title. Why is the announcer, the ring announcer, bigger and taller and looks like she could kick the ass of both women wrestling for a world title? Does anybody else not see a huge issue with that? And they tried to hide it. They tried to hide it with their camera angle. Like, they got in tight so it made it look like they were further away from the wrestlers than they were and that they were closer in on Alicia. Like, they were trying to actually hide that her standing in between the two of them. But you could still see how much bigger she looked than the other two. And that was really, really bad. What they should have done is not had Alicia Taylor do you know that thing where, like, they do the entrances and then they do the ring announcement, which they do for, like, pretty much all title matches under Triple H's leadership, which is stupid, by the way. They should only do that for main event matches only. But they did it for this title match instead of having her just announce them both as they were coming down the ring. But if they had her announce them both as they were coming down the ring, you wouldn't have had that awkward moment where Alicia Taylor is towering over two women wrestling for a world title. That was embarrassing, man. That was embarrassing. I don't know how tall Alicia Taylor is, but I don't think she would look that much bigger than Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill or Tiffany Stratton, right? So like we had two tiny, teeny tiny women wrestling for a world title tonight, and the wrong person won. I mean, Iyo Sky is already been champion. She's already wrestled at WrestleMania. Why didn't they just give the title back to her and use this as like a good match for Stephanie, but then continue having her get to know, letting the audience get to know her and having her build up to a world title? I said this in my predictions. You have to be a very, very, very special talent to win a world title in your first year. And I don't think Stephanie Vaquer is that. I genuinely don't. Is she incredible? Is she an incredible wrestler in the ring? Yes, but there is so much more to pro wrestling than just being an incredible wrestler in the ring. That's not good enough, man. That's not good enough. Those two women that wrestle for the world title tonight are probably the two best wrestlers on the roster, probably period, man or woman, like hands down. But neither of them are stars. But at least Io's been there before, so it would have made sense to give the title back to her. But Stephanie Vaquer, she's just getting started, and she doesn't have like that spitting image special star power status that someone like Brock Lesnar had when he won the world title in his first year. When you looked at Brock Lesnar, you instantly saw that this guy's a star. You don't have that with Stephanie Vaquer. She just looks like an indie wrestler. She just looks like a cool indie wrestler with, a cool outfit. But she doesn't have that like star power image that someone like, and I'll compare her to women instead of men, but someone like Jade Cargill has. Jade Cargill has so much more star power aura to her that Stephanie Vaquer just doesn't have. She's a great wrestler, but there's so much more to pro wrestling than just being a great wrestler. And there's so much more to being world champion than being a great wrestler. This match was good. I like them both as wrestlers. I hate this decision tonight because ultimately I think this is bad for Stephanie because there's no ascension now. She's like Sami Zayn, right? Sami Zayn, when he finally wins the world title, it's going to be an incredible moment because we got to experience the ascension with Sami Zayn over the years. Someone like Stephanie Vaquer needs that ascension before they're given the world championship, and she wasn't given it. And ultimately, I think that's going to hurt her more than help her. That was my rant for this review. I don't want this review to go beyond 40 minutes, so I need to really hurry up here. Okay, best match of the night, hands down. I showed this off in my video I made last night, but I've been booking this match for over a year now. Check out my video from last night and you'll see. It's the video called Who Should Be Champions Heading into WrestleMania 42. It's on my channel right now. I showed proof that I've been booking this match for over a year, both publicly and privately, but this was the best match of the night. This is why it's been one of my dream matches. Um, the only thing I can say about this match is, the only criticism, I mean, that I can say about this match is that this match would have been so much better like 5, 10 years ago, like even 5 years ago, when Punk was a little bit younger and AJ was a little bit younger and Seth and Becky were in their like prime. Just imagine how much better this match, like in terms of their athleticism, would have been 5 years ago. That's the only criticism I have of it because there were times in this match where AJ looked like there was some. She's not old by any means. She's still in her 30s, but you could tell that there was ring rust on her at times. And as for Punk, he's definitely slowed down in the ring, and he isn't as athletic as he used to be. I mean, he's almost 50, so that's not to be that's not overly shocking, but that's the only criticism I have of this match. These four have insane chemistry. And from a storytelling perspective, an in-ring storytelling perspective, this match was perfect. The way this match was essentially scripted out was perfect. How we all were excited to see AJ back in the ring, and Seth and Becky just making sure that AJ wasn't going to get tagged in, And, you know, then eventually AJ got in, and the husbands were afraid to attack the wives, as they should be, and the wives were taking advantage of this, especially Becky on CM Punk. And then everyone trading finishers, including the women hitting the men's finishers on the men and such and such. The match, from a storytelling perspective, you all saw it, was perfect. These four are so insanely good at storytelling, and I've been saying this since CM Punk returned to WWE. Athletically, he's lost it. He not completely, but he's lost a step athletically, but he makes up for it in his storytelling ability. He is the best in-ring storyteller in the company. Seth Rollins is right there with him, and Becky Lynch and AJ are without a doubt the two best in-ring storytellers on the women's roster. That was incredible. And the chemistry that these four have is insane. I haven't seen chemistry between like four wrestlers like this. I don't know if I've ever seen it in my entire time of being a wrestling fan. Seeing two wrestlers have chemistry like this, I've seen before. Even three wrestlers having chemistry like this before. But four wrestlers to have this much chemistry together. And this match, as incredible as it was, like I said, just imagine if like this happened 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Like when CM Punk was like closer to 40 than he was to 50, and AJ was, you know, probably in the prime of her life in terms of, you know, her physical age, and Seth and Becky were, you know, the best wrestlers on the planet. Just athletically, because if you take away the losing a step athletically criticism to this match would have been arguably one of the greatest matches of all time. From a storytelling perspective, this is one of the best mixed tag team matches ever. And this has been, from a storytelling perspective, this might be the best match CM Punk has had since he's returned to WWE, honestly. And I think his Hell in a Cell match with Drew was phenomenal. I thought his SummerSlam match with Drew was phenomenal. I thought the Elimination Chamber match where him and Cena were the last two were phenomenal. But even the War Games match I thought was great. He's just such a great psychologist. But I think this was the best match of his WWE return. And AJ was phenomenal. Becky Lynch was phenomenal. Seth Rollins was phenomenal. I'm going to give this match 4.5 out of 5. And that's all due to storytelling and chemistry and all the wrestlers, you know, giving it their all. None of them phoned it in. All of them wanted this match to be incredible for the fans. They wanted it to be an incredible moment for the fans. And my hat is off to them. I think they all delivered. I think they all delivered in a big way. This match was so much fun. It probably should have main evented, to be completely honest, because the main event really did nothing. Nothing really came out of it. This match probably should have gone on as the main event. I think the show would have felt a lot. I think the aftermath of the show would have left people feeling better than what we're all feeling now. I really think this match should have been the main event. In spirit, it was the main event. It should have been the literal main event, but I'm going to say 4 out of 5, or 4.5 out of 5 stars for this match. I love it. Cody Rhodes defeated Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. I mean, that's really all that needs to be said about this match. I'll say this as an actual appreciation of this match actually is that they didn't kick out of like 10 finishers each, which is becoming like a problem in WWE where like all big matches are turning into like I'm gonna give you like my finisher like 5, 6, 7 times, and you're just gonna kick out of it over and over again. That didn't happen here. As far as I remember, Cody only hit 2 finishers on Drew this match. The first one Drew kicked out of, but the second one won the match. That's okay. Like that's okay. You can kick out a 1 finisher in a big main event match like this, but once you start kicking out a 2, 3, 4, etc., that becomes a huge problem. That match didn't have this. It was more straight to the point. We're going to hit our spots. We're going to tell a really basic story we're telling here. We're going to have the ref kind of make mistakes throughout the match that may cost you the match, to give him something to whine about on SmackDown with the mic, which I'm sure they're going to lean into. They did a very basic match that hit everything it needed to hit, but they didn't go beyond anything. And that's why I think they should have switched this match with the mixed tag. This match should have gone on fourth, and then the mixed tag should have closed the show. I genuinely believe WrestlePalooza would have been a better show if this match was the perennial match and the mixed tag was the main event. That's not what they ended up doing. But it is what it is. I would say this match is like 3 out of 5. Again, it was nothing special. It was more straight to the point. It did avoid that criticism that I mentioned. But yeah, nothing really special happened in this match. So they got the main event wrong. But yeah, Cody Rhodes won. He's still WWE champion. Randy Orton didn't come out to turn heel. Drew McIntyre didn't win the title. The Rock didn't show up. Nothing special really happened here. So yeah, they should have had the mixed tag just main event it. But it is what it is. Overall, WrestlePalooza, it was fun, but all of the problems that fans have with WWE, like hardcore fans point out about WWE, they were all here. And there's really no signs that the product is going to get better. It is what it is, man. The shows are what they are now. WWE is so corporate now, and I don't know. It just feels like it might never get the magic back again. At least not for the foreseeable future. And that's sad, but that is the reality that we have. Overall, I would give the show like a 6.5 out of 10. I think that's a fair rating. It probably would have been bumped up to a 7 out of 10 if the mixed tag team match was the main event. And maybe if Iyo Sky won the title instead of Stephanie Vaquer, which I think would have been the right decision. But yeah, I'll give it 6.5 out of 10. Last thing before I go to the description of this video or go to my pinned comment or just click on my channel and watch the 2 videos I uploaded earlier. One is called Who Should Be the Champions Heading into WrestleMania 42. The other is called WrestleMania 42 Fantasy Card in 10 Minutes, where you can see the fantasy card that I have booked for WrestleMania 42. But check out the other video as well, where I talk about who should be champions heading into WrestleMania 42 and also give my WrestleMania 42 fantasy card in that video as well. So check those out. Thank you for watching this video. I'm Jayvardy, and that is it. Thank you for watching.